On this episode of War Junk, we investigate one of the most epic battles of World War II, Operation Market Garden. In mid-September 1944, the Allies dropped thousands of airborne troops into German-occupied Holland. It's one of the largest operations in military history, and the central story behind the iconic movie, A Bridge Too Far.
Take cover!
We're searching for artifacts that help tell the story of Market Garden. What will we find when we dig on a battlefield where paratroopers dropped? And can we solve two fascinating mysteries about soldiers who fought here during the battle? Can we connect the past with the present? This is War Junk, Operation Market Garden.
I'm Professor David O'Keefe.
And I'm history buff and filmmaker Wayne Abbot.
Together, we travel the globe searching for war junk.
Remnants, artifacts, anything left over on the battlefield.
Some big, some small.
All with a story to tell.
And a mystery or two to solve along the way. We are investigating one of the greatest airborne operations in history. It takes place here in Holland in September 1944. The idea was to drop 35,000 airborne troops behind enemy lines over a 100-kilometer corridor, with the final objective of breaching Germany and ending the war by Christmas 1944. It was one of the boldest operations ever attempted. In broad daylight on September 17, 1944, thousands of paratroopers jumped on landing zones like this. It was the beginning of Operation Market Garden.
Here they come. 1, 2. Chutes deployed, everything's good.
Once they landed, there was one particular paratrooper I needed to meet up with.
You did it!
Oh. That was the scariest and most exhilarating thing I've ever done in my life. Really was incredible.
Welcome to Holland.
Yes, I jumped out of a plane. In order to experience what the paratroopers would have gone through at the opening of Market Garden, we did our own drop.
I was so scared coming out that door, but once I just kind of closed my eyes, counted, looked up, and the parachute was beautiful.
Yeah! It was our way to honor the 35,000-plus men who dropped here in Holland during Operation Market Garden.
I'm coming down, and all I could see is that footage from Market Garden. I'm looking at the other guys there, and I can picture like 1,000 parachutes around me.
You're on the original drop zone that they used in September 1944. How does that feel?
I'm honored to be able to do this here.
Well, there couldn't be a better way to start our journey into Operation Market Garden.
Definitely.
Market Garden was truly an ambitious operation. 3 airborne divisions drop in 3 different sectors. The American 101st Airborne, of Band of Brothers fame, land near Eindhoven. The American 82nd Airborne dropped south of the city of Nijmegen. And the British 1st Airborne Division, along with the Polish Brigade, land in various drop zones west of Arnhem, where Wayne landed. The idea was to capture a series of bridges to allow the tanks of British 30th Corps a rapid advance to Arnhem and then into Germany. The British 1st Airborne had one crucial objective: get to Arnhem Bridge.
So after the paratroopers dropped where we were, is this the exact route they took?
Yeah, it was all a race against time. There were 3 ways into Arnhem, and we're on one that was called Lion's Route. And this was the one taken by the 2nd Battalion that was led by Lieutenant Colonel Johnny Frost.
The famous John Frost, the character that Anthony Hopkins played in A Bridge Too Far.
Yeah, one of the greatest war movies ever.
Take cover!
The epic 1970s war film, A Bridge Too Far, truly brings the Battle of Market Garden to life. We're heading to the location where the most dramatic part of the story took place.
That's it. That's Arnhem Bridge.
So that's the Bridge Too Far.
Wayne and I were meeting a local historian right at the foot of the bridge.
Huh. That must be him. Well, hello. You must be Vibo?
Yes,
Hi, I'm David. Good, this is Wayne?
He was going to take us through step by step what happened here in 1944.
So this is it?
This is the bridge, John Frost Bridge.
Oh, that's true. It's named after John Frost.
It's later named after John Frost, yes.
So this really is the heart of the entire battle, right here where we're standing.
John Frost came over there, halfway, with his A Company.
Lieutenant Colonel John Frost and the 2nd Parachute Battalion arrive here the afternoon of September 17th with only 750 British paratroopers out of the 9,000 expected. But they still attempt to take their objective. What I was thrilled about was taking that walk to the center of the bridge, because this was the same area where the British paratroopers attempted to capture both sides of the bridge as soon as they arrived.
So how far did the British get when they made their initial assault?
Usually in the middle. They have no chance. There's no cover here at all. So they had to go back, try it again, and then they decided to take the houses on the north side of the bridge.
Yeah, this is really like being in no man's land where we are right now. You either get over, get your objective, or you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And when the Germans counterattack across the bridge the next morning, they are annihilated by the British paras who are positioned in the houses by the bridge. It was one of the most dramatic scenes in A Bridge Too Far.
The whole bridge, especially on that part and that side, was full of dead Germans. Cars, broken cars, all over were dead bodies and wounded. You can't get the wounded because it was no man's land. So it was a complete mess here.
Even with this apparent victory, John Frost and his men are in a dire predicament. The Germans quickly surround his battalion, and they are completely cut off from the troops to the west and Allied forces pushing from the south. It was almost like a noose around their necks, slowly tightening until finally they were overrun 3 days in. John Frost and over 600 of his men were captured.
Is there anything left on the battlefield?
None of the houses. They're all gone on the bridge itself, the part that's original. You still can see the wartime damage.
Vibo leads us to an area on the north end of the bridge where the British made their stand.
Oh, look at these.
See, you see, that's a bullet hole. And there's another one.
All here?
Yes, there's one, and there's one, and there's one.
So essentially what we're standing on is the only real remnant from the battle at the bridge.
This is still original, yes, because the bridge is new. Here I am in the middle of the battle on the Monday morning, 8 o'clock.
It's remarkable that a small bullet hole can be time-stamped in history so specifically. That's what's unique about the Battle of Arnhem. We're hoping that Vibo can help us with one more thing.
Other than what we've seen so far, is there anything that you would know of, any type of artifact that really represents the fighting that went on here at the Arnhem Bridge?
I have a friend of mine who has some artifacts that came from the bridge.
Somewhere in this area?
This area, yes.
Fantastic.
Wayne and I immediately left the bridge, and we started to head down to an area in between Nijmegen and Arnhem.
I can't believe Vibo has a friend that might have an artifact from the actual bridge itself.
Yeah, well, if he does, it's going to be rare because there were only 700 British paratroopers that fought in that area, and they only fought for 3 days.
So if we find anything, we'd be lucky.
Would we ever?
Vibo had set up a meeting with a local collector. His name is Michel Clements, and when we walk into his private museum, we're immediately impressed.
Oh, wow. Now, this is your special collection, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen so much from an airborne collection in my life. This is incredible.
It's apparent Michel has been collecting for years. He shows us a number of items from the Battle of Arnhem. First, a map used by a British officer.
And this was found in Arnhem?
This was found in Arnhem.
Then a helmet.
This helmet also belongs to glider pilot.
See, a lot of times when we're talking about airborne operations, everybody thinks it's just paratroopers coming down. But also, the vast majority of the airborne division came in via gliders, which means they needed pilots to fly them in.
But we're still wondering what Michel has that can be connected directly to Arnhem Bridge.
2 helmets, Eugene Cole, B Company, 2nd Battalion, and Staff Sergeant Bellinger, A Company, 2nd Battalion.
How do you know that both of these came from the bridge?
Because the name, Cole was of the 2nd Battalion.
Cole clearly wrote his name on the helmet. If Michel is correct and Cole was with the British 2nd Para, then he would have been at the bridge.
What happened to Cole?
Cole was killed.
He was killed as well?
During the battle, yeah.
And what about the other one?
His name inside, Staff Sergeant
Oh, look.
Bellinger, Sergeant Bellinger, he was section commander of the A Company, 2nd Battalion.
Wow, so he was at the bridge then?
He was also at the Arnhem Bridge.
If this is true, and Ballinger fought with Frost's men, then this helmet is truly symbolic of the fighting at Arnhem Bridge.
And what happened to Ballinger, do we know?
He was taken prisoner of war.
Oh, he was?
He was brought to Germany, and he came out of the camp in 45.
So he survived then?
He survived, yeah.
I mean, look at this. Not only do we have his name in there, but we also have his regimental number. I mean, this is a fantastic place to start.
After the discovery of the helmets in Michel's collection, we head to our home base, another key location from Operation Market Garden, under the Nijmegen Bridge.
The Allies captured it on September 20th as they moved towards Arnhem, trying to reach John Frost's men. Sadly, this would be the last bridge they would take.
Dave and I have a meeting here with 2 locals who we hope can help us with one very important mission.
Our objective is to dig on a market garden battlefield. Where can we dig?
It's very difficult to dig in this area because it's not allowed in Arnhem and Nijmegen to dig.
When you say not allowed, you mean that you're just not allowed to use a metal detector or dig in the ground whatsoever?
Whatever.
Not exactly the best news, but Roy has another location in mind.
The area where we're going to dig is Groesbeek.
That's where the 82nd...
Where the 82nd fought in September 1944. And the location where we're going to do is called Fox Hill. And the farmer allowed us to dig in this area.
As long as we're on private land and the owner gives permission, we're good?
That's good.
Fox Hill is 10 kilometers south of Nijmegen, where American airborne troops landed during the opening hours of Market Garden. Rule then tells us something we didn't expect.
We went out with our metal detectors to the field, and we pointed out some spots where we have some really big hits.
How big is big?
3 meters by 3 meters.
3 meters by 3 meters?
Yeah.
So how many target areas do you think you have now for us?
6. And we've gone
And
one.
all bigger than 3 meters? 3 meters?
One we've gone 5 meters by 3 meters.
Yeah.
But I don't know what's in it.
This sounds almost too good to be true.
We have 6 targets, 3 meters by 3 meters, all on a market garden battlefield.
Yes.
Sounds like a plan.
This is great.
While the guys prep to dig on Fox Hill, we head south to an area called Rosberg, or in English, Groesbeek. We have a meeting at a museum right in the heart of where the American 82nd Airborne landed.
What do we know about the museum?
Not much. Apparently they got some artifacts, and the only thing that the research team told us is we'll know it when we get there, because it's quite unique.
I can see why they say it's unique.
They weren't kidding.
Is that what I think it is?
That's a parachute.
Our anticipation grows as we see the airborne-themed roof of the Liberation Museum. It would be great to find an item here that connects us with the American experience in Market Garden.
So the museum focuses on the period.
Wayne and I met with the curator of the museum, a young man by the name of Yori.
This is your main collection here.
It is. This is our permanent exhibition.
Most of the museum is dedicated to Market Garden, including the actual uniform of General James Jumping Jim Gavin, the character played by Ryan O'Neal in A Bridge Too Far.
Gavin was the commanding general of the 82nd Airborne.
And then Yori shows us one of the most amazing artifacts from Market Garden. One of the actual canvas boats used when the American troops crossed the Vaal River in Nijmegen.
This is the last example of one of the boats used during the Vaal crossing.
And this is the last one in existence?
The last one.
It is incredible to see such unique Market Garden artifacts. But when I ask Yori what they have that is more personal in nature, something perhaps with a mystery attached, he takes us down to an area of the museum where the public are not permitted.
This is where we keep all the objects that aren't on display in our permanent exhibition. 65,000 pieces are still down here.
Then, Yori pulls out a cardboard box.
So this is a collection we got about a year ago from America.
From America?
There's several objects in the collection.
The first thing Yori shows me is a plaque. And on the certificate was the name of Manning Haney, a member of the 101st Airborne who was killed on October 9th, 1944, just after Operation Market Garden. Then he reveals the key artifact.
Look at this.
This is a scrapbook of my son, Manning Haney, age 18 years. Enlisted in the Army August 8th, 1941, at 17 years of age. What struck me at first were the photographs.
So this is one of the earlier pictures of him.
Over the years, we've seen many artifacts, helmets, ID tags, canteens, but we've never seen something like this.
Here's a picture of him during his training to become a paratrooper.
As we turn the pages, we discover more about this young paratrooper, Manning Haney.
He was with the 506 Parachute Infantry, the same as the Band of Brothers. I wonder if he was in Easy Company.
Actually, he was with F Company, Fox Company.
If he was with the 101st, he most likely jumped into Normandy on D-Day. And he also would have landed with them near Eindhoven on September 17th at the beginning of Market Garden.
It was amazing to see everything from letters to photos, newspaper articles. Everything that Manning sent home to her, she pasted into the scrapbook.
Seeing this, you start to get the profound sensation of what the mother felt for her son.
She collected everything from his war experience, even a napkin from a Christmas dinner. Then we come across something that could help us find a family member.
We have an address to go on in here.
Yes, you do.
70-year-old address, but we've got an address.
There's also addresses on the letters he sent home.
On the letters home, fantastic.
Yeah.
On the letters, the address shows his mother at the time lived in Fulton, Kentucky. This is an excellent clue. Then Yori pulls a poem out of an envelope written by his mother.
The poem was entitled 1,000 Times a Day, which was very difficult for me to read. To me, you're everything in life. You're fine and strong. I pray, I'm proud of you, and I wish you well 1,000 times a day.
This is an extraordinary collection. It also includes his Purple Heart, his uniform, and the actual telegram sent home to his parents.
Secretary of War desires me to express his deep regret that your son, Private First Class Manning J. Haney, was killed in action on 9 October in Holland. That's sobering.
Then Yori tells us something unusual about the uniform.
There's one piece missing from the uniform. He was awarded a Silver Star posthumously.
Silver Star?
Silver Star, yes. For the actions he undertook on the day he died. It's not with the rest of the collection either, so we don't know where it is.
Okay, so the Purple Heart is there, but not the Silver Star?
No.
Well, the Silver Star is a medal for commendation in the field, usually for bravery, heroic actions. It is something that recognizes heroism in battle and the fact that you've done your duty in the best possible way.
Where the Silver Star has gone is one mystery, but the other mystery is where did this collection come from?
The person who donated all the artifacts to us, he just said I picked it up in a suitcase at a rummage sale. There was the uniform, the scrapbook, and of course he immediately knew he found something very, very interesting.
Where was this rummage sale? Somewhere in the States?
It was in America.
How could this collection go missing? How could it get separated from a mother who loved her son so much? It could have easily have gone missing forever. Could have maybe been thrown away.
This is a story with so many mysteries and so much emotion attached to it. This is going to be one of our most daunting challenges ever.
Most people are not going to consider this collection junk.
No, not at all. I mean, we're used to dealing with stuff that we pull out of farmers' fields, but to find a collection this comprehensive.
But this collection came this close to being lost forever and possibly thrown in the garbage.
Yeah, that's the scary part. But see, the question is, with all of the love that was poured into this by his mother, how did she end up getting separated from it?
Well, there's only one thing to do. Talk to the person who donated this.
Yeah, that's the place to start.
We have found great artifacts, all with mysteries to solve. First, how did the unique Manning Haney collection, a scrapbook and uniform, go missing in the first place? And can we find out more about the helmets we discovered at Michelle's museum?
While we wait for help from our research team, we're off to dig on a market garden battlefield. We are heading to Fox Hill, 10 kilometers south of Nijmegen in the Grosbeek Heights, near the Liberation Museum, where the American 82nd Airborne dropped.
When we arrive, Roy and Roel are set and ready to go.
Morning, Roy.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Since they've already marked out the target area, Roy goes and gets an aerial photo of the field behind us, taken the day after the Americans dropped during Market Garden.
You can see the road.
Where are we standing right now?
Where we are now is, we are here. You can see some dark spots. The white spots are all parachutes. And the dark spots are gliders.
So right behind us here, this whole place was littered with parachutes, gliders, during Operation Market Garden.
Yeah.
We knew then that this field could yield some good artifacts. For Dave and I, the ultimate is to find any artifacts that represent what happened here during the initial stages of Market Garden.
The target area is just off the road, and it appears to be a good size.
From here until here and like this.
Wow.
First, we're gonna dig this out.
There's nothing more to do but dig. As the backhoe breaks ground, we're concerned this target may not be war material.
Just after the war, there were a lot of bomb craters in those areas. So the farmers put all the stuff from the damaged houses and they put in those bomb craters, and then they covered it up so they can start working on the fields again.
So anything they felt they could just discard, they threw into these holes and covered up.
Then, we unearth our first relic.
What's that? It's metal.
It's a stuk van de raam. It's a piece of a window.
It's definitely not from Market Garden.
What we're seeing so far kind of confirms your theory that if there was any damage done to the houses, it was all pushed in, covered up, and they moved on.
Yeah.
But it isn't long before our luck changes.
Whoops. Parachute?
Yeah!
You can just see the strings.
This is when I knew we had a chance of having a great day, because now we were getting our first artifacts directly from airborne units.
We've never dug up a parachute before. We started pulling on the cords and the strands of string. It was like grabbing spaghetti and trying to pull it out of the ground.
As we dig deeper, we eventually find a piece of 70-year-old silk.
Oh, there's more, there's more, there's more. Just trying to be very careful here. There it is.
Wow.
More than 70 years in the ground, huh?
That is such an amazing sight.
If we thought that was good, deeper yet, we unearth another piece.
Wow. This is a much bigger piece than what we had.
It's special that this piece of parachute can be connected to the men who landed here on the afternoon of September 17th, 1944.
Little piece of Market Garden.
Once we found this large piece of parachute, we thought we were done, until Roy finds something else.
This is from the gliders.
Yes.
I would never suspected that was from a glider.
The American gliders were made out of a metal frame.
Ik heb het raam gevonden. I find the window.
You find the window?
Yeah. The glider?
The full window or just the glass?
This is the window. Very fragile, this. You have to be very careful.
Have you ever found a glider window?
Yeah, one time.
Only once?
Once, and this is very...
Extremely rare.
Yeah.
You just take your time, right? Take your time. You can really see the wood now from the glider.
Must be a Waco glider.
That is spectacular.
This is a Waco glider with the distinct round windows. Each could carry 15 to 20 troops. Hundreds of these types of gliders were used by the American airborne and landed in the fields around here.
Gliders, when they were used, they were never reused. They were one way only. And so when they landed here, they were essentially discarded. Even after the war, they were still lying around.
It doesn't take long for Roy to carefully remove the dirt to expose the entire window.
So how thin is this?
Very thin. If you touch it, it can be broken.
Very fragile.
Yeah.
Very carefully, Roy lifts the glider window out of the dirt. It's one of the rarest relics we've ever uncovered.
I just can't believe after 70 years, we just pulled this out.
Yeah.
You never find it intact like this, right?
No, normally you find some iron from the glider, but this is very rare to find. It's an amazing piece.
This is representative of the opening hours of Market Garden. The silk from the parachute, the cables, the harnesses, and of course,
the glider window. It's amazing. We found a little piece of Market Garden here this morning.
After a successful dig, we turn our attention to our mystery artifacts.
So out of the helmets we saw at Michelle's place, we got a hit on Ernie Ballinger's?
Yeah, the research team has established that Ballinger was indeed part of 2nd Parachute Battalion with Johnny Frost. But there's a bit of a twist. Look at this photo the research team found. This was taken outside of Arnhem, and apparently something happened there which plays a huge role in the Ballinger story.
We hope to prove that Ernie Ballinger indeed made it to Arnhem Bridge and fought alongside John Frost.
We are now heading to a location a few kilometers outside of Arnhem. Will this new information help us understand what happened to Ballinger on his way to Arnhem Bridge?
So is this the place in the photograph for sure?
Yeah, it looks like it. It looks like it was taken from this way as we drove through.
This is the bridge.
That's it. That's the flyover.
So this is where John Frost and the 2nd Battalion came through.
Yeah.
So what was the report that the research team got on Ballinger?
As soon as A Company made it under here, they were in the lead of Frost Battalion, they got surprised by a German armored car on the other side, and they were hit with machine gun and 20mm fire.
The report goes on to say that Ballinger was wounded right here during the attack.
Hey, take a look at this. Wow. You can start to see evidence of the battle that was fought right here.
The whole wall is riddled.
The smaller pockmarks look to be from what would be a German machine gun at the time. And then you've got the bigger ones that would likely correspond to the 20mm cannons that they used. So they've got both firing at the same time. And this is the perfect area. This is a bottleneck.
So this is incredible evidence that Ballinger got injured here.
Yeah, well, certainly the report now correlates with the physical evidence.
But what we don't know is how severely wounded Ernie Ballinger was. Could he still fight? Did he make it to Arnhem Bridge? Or were his wounds so serious that he needed medical attention? That is the mystery we need to solve.
Before we tackle that mystery, we get outstanding news on the Manning-Haney collection. Our research team found the man who discovered the collection in the rummage sale.
I'm David.
We have a meeting with Bob Boyd, who has traveled from the United States to join us.
At this point, all we know is that it was found in a suitcase in a second-hand store somewhere in the United States. We're hoping that Bob Boyd can actually fill in the gaps.
First of all, when did you find this?
I found it in the late 1990s.
So nearly 20 years ago?
Yes,
Where did you find it?
It was in a modest antique shop mall that has spaces for different vendors and in Bend, Oregon.
Bend, Oregon?
Bob found the collection in Oregon. We were under the assumption that it might be in Kentucky. That's where Manning-Haney's mother lived at the time of the war.
So any idea how this moved from Fulton, Kentucky out to Oregon?
No idea at all. It's one of those things 20 years later, I wish I'd asked the folks I got it from. They said they had purchased it at a yard sale from a woman who had taken care of another elderly lady, and it was that elderly lady's son's things.
We never suspected just how many hands this collection passed through before landing here.
They were looking after the mom, and they took it, and it didn't go to a family member.
So presumably when she passed on,
right,
then this was sort of
There was no one to pass it on to, perhaps, and they kept it.
Then we asked Bob if he knows anything about Manning being awarded the Silver Star.
He was posthumously awarded the Distinguished Service Cross, which is second to the Medal of Honor.
So it wasn't the Silver Star?
No, it was next to the top.
So it's higher?
Distinguished Service Cross, and the Medal of Honor is at the top.
And that's not in the scrapbook?
No, it's not.
This is intriguing information. Manning was awarded the second highest honor for American military bravery, the Distinguished Service Cross. Then we had to ask Bob another key question.
Up until today, with your research, you've never contacted a family member of Manning-Haney?
Never.
With these leads, now we've been able to narrow down the search, and we're hoping to find a member of Haney's family that we can reunite with the collection. Operation Market Garden was one of the most controversial and tragic operations of World War II. Though the Allies eventually accomplished most of their objectives, they never captured the prize, Arnhem Bridge. John Frost and his men, who fought gallantly at the bridge, were overrun, including Ernie Ballinger, whose helmet we found at Michelle's place.
Incredibly, we have found two of Ernie's children, Marina and Bill, and they've come from England to meet us. Though we know Ernie was wounded, we still don't know how bad and whether or not he made it with John Frost to Arnhem Bridge.
We just want to find out what you know of your father's war experience.
Our father never really spoke about this at all to us.
I don't know a thing about what happened to Dad in the war. Dad died when I was 14.
Ernie died when he was only 46 when Marina and Bill were still in their teens. Neither of them knew much about what Ernie experienced here in Arnhem.
It looks like we may have hit a stone wall until they open up an envelope. All of a sudden, we get a glimpse into Ernie's wartime life.
And we got a picture of Dad there with his...
Well, that's a great picture. They pulled out a series of incredible color photographs of him with his regiment.
Paperwork, service history.
Then they show us his service record. This is something only the family can have access to.
This is the first time we're seeing this, but it's actually helping us piece a bit more of the puzzle together.
And finally, excerpts from a personal diary he wrote while a prisoner of war. This held the clue we were after.
But before we revealed anything else, we wanted to take Marina and Bill to that small railway bridge outside of Arnhem.
We feel it's important that they see this place, since it was such a key moment in Ernie's Arnhem experience.
One of the mysteries with your father is, did he make it to the bridge?
Your father and his battalion were pushing down through here, likely with your father at the lead.
Then we share the information in the report about their father coming under fire from a German armored car.
And it opened up on them with machine gun and cannon fire. What you see behind us right now is the remnants of that firefight.
So we believe from the research that he got injured on his arm and shoulder. It was right here.
I was here.
Right here.
Oh my God. So Dad actually never met the bridge.
To answer Bill's question, we reveal what we noticed earlier in their father's war diary.
The question of whether he made it to the bridge or not is basically in his diary.
Right.
Because he came here on the 17th. In his diary, on Monday, the 18th, that's when he says he arrived at St. Elizabeth Hospital.
Which means he made it into Arnhem, because St. Elizabeth's Hospital is not very far from the bridge.
Even though he might have made it near the bridge, he was definitely in the hospital the morning of the 18th.
So we know for sure he was not on that bridge fighting for the 3 days with John Frost.
It's incredible. And we knew nothing about none of this, did we?
No, no.
You okay?
Yeah. Yeah, it's very hard to imagine he survived it.
Really incredible.
Now it's time to take Marina and Bill to see Michelle's collection and the artifact their father lost over 70 years ago.
They had no clue what they were about to see.
How are you doing? Good to see you again.
These are the children of Sergeant Ernest Ballinger.
Hello.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Okay. Hello, Mr. Clemens.
Nice to meet you, Bill.
The first thing we did was have Michelle show them around and explain the parts of the uniform that their father wore during Operation Market Garden. Your father would have been dressed identical to this with the exception of the armband.
We've asked you to come all the way to Arnhem to show you something that Michelle has of your father's. So this is your father's helmet.
That's Dad's.
That's Dad's.
How can you tell by that?
Although Ernie never spoke about his experiences in Arnhem, this artifact spoke volumes.
And the serial number, E01. And here states, it's difficult to see, the staff sergeant.
So he would have worn this and probably lost it after he was in the hospital. How does it feel holding this, Marina?
Oh, it's wonderful.
I can't believe it.
Though Ernie never made it to Arnhem Bridge, it doesn't diminish his story. His helmet represents the courage and sacrifice of a father who risked his life here during Operation Market Garden.
Thank you for showing us.
Thank you.
Right now, we're waiting for Jim Haney.
He's a relative of Manning Haney, who's come from the United States here to Holland to join us.
And the thing is, he knows nothing about what we have about the scrapbook or anything.
Good morning.
I'm Wayne. Good morning, Jim. I'm Dave.
Glad to meet you, Dave.
Welcome to Nijmegen. Well, what's your connection with Manning Haney?
Well, Manning Haney was kind of a third cousin to me. His dad was a cousin to my grandfather.
Jim is a third cousin to Manning Haney. This is the most distant relative that we've ever had on the show. We have brought you over because...
But Jim has a unique connection to his cousin. When we met him, we could see immediately he was wearing a hat from the 82nd Airborne. Of course, Manning Haney was with the 101st.
So you were a paratrooper?
Yes. Yes.
With the 82nd?
Yeah, from June 6, 1976 to June 6, 1979.
Surprisingly, he knew a lot about his cousin.
I researched him for about 20 years. I know that he was a original member of Fox Company 506 Parachute Infantry Regiment of the 101st. He jumped in Normandy and survived D-Day, and he jumped in here at Holland.
And I guess because you were both paratroopers, there must be some sort of bond there.
Yes, it's a brotherhood.
After you, sir.
It was time to take Jim to the Liberation Museum. Even though he's a distant relative, it's wonderful to see how deeply Jim is connected to his cousin, Manning Haney.
Oh, this is it?
When we arrive, we first introduce him to Yori. And before we show Jim the collection, Yori gives him a brief tour of the museum.
And this was the decisive moment in the Battle of Nijmegen. So they were unable to capture those bridges for 2 days. This is the actual cockpit of a Waco glider the Americans would have used.
That's amazing.
And after seeing some of the legendary artifacts associated with his unit, it was now time to take him down to the vault.
It's right over here, Jim. How Jim was going to react when he saw the scrapbook and the uniform, we had no idea.
So this is it.
What we have here in the box is essentially the Manning Haney story.
This was sent to his mother after he passed away. So you can see Private First Class Manning Haney died in the European area, October 9th, 1944. The real main piece in the entire collection is a scrapbook that was made by his mother, and she's kept a track record of all the things he did.
Wow.
Pictures when he was in the 7th grade, and then him in his uniform in 1943.
The earlier pictures are the first time I've ever seen. And it's really funny about this one here is this photo was taken on my birthday.
Really?
April 6th.
He spent 20 years researching Manning Haney's story. And now, in the scrapbook, Manning Haney's life was coming alive.
This is written by Manning Haney himself. So, dear Mom, I'm now a full member of the parachute troops.
Wow.
Oh, there's more. She literally kept everything.
Then we show him the poem written by Manning's mother.
To you, my son, my thoughts go 1,000 times a day.
Wow.
You know, we talk about the heroism and what happened in October.
Yeah.
But when you boil it all down, it's a story of a mother and a son.
Yeah. This has really touched me.
Everything built up to that moment when Yori showed Jim the telegram.
So this was the first news she got that her son had died in battle.
You can imagine what she was thinking when she held that in her hands.
Yeah.
This isn't all that was in the collection.
Oh, my God.
This was his uniform.
What is it about the uniform?
I have a picture of him wearing that uniform.
Then Jim notices what's missing on the uniform.
There should be another one up there. Should be a Distinguished Service Cross, and I believe it was never issued.
So the citation was, but the medal never arrived.
The medal never arrived.
Because that was one of the mysteries that we were trying to figure out, is where was the metal?
It was never issued.
Why would that be?
She moved after his body was brought back to the States.
Now it's time to tell Jim where the collection came from.
A guy in the United States picked something up at a rummage sale. A suitcase, the uniform, the scrapbook, and everything you see here.
At a rummage sale.
Then we had another surprise. Waiting outside the door was Bob Boyd. This would be the first time these two men would meet.
This is Bob Boyd. He's the one who found the collection and saved it.
Bob Boyd from Oregon.
Thank you, sir. Oh. Thank you.
Oh, you're
Once again, you could see the power of this collection.
Pleasure to meet you.
There was an instant bond between these two men, who literally only live a few hundred miles from each other.
I thought this would be the good place for it.
This is the perfect place for it. This is an heirloom to the family, and you saved it. It's like you're keeping Manning alive.
Then Jim has a surprise for us.
What I have done is taken a photograph and put them in this for you. And if you notice, that's that same uniform he's wearing.
It was amazing to be actually holding the uniform of Manning Haney and seeing a photo of him taken just before Operation Market Garden in the same uniform. It was a powerful moment, and Jim had one more surprise.
In honor of Manning, I want to present you a 48 star flag.
Thank you. Wow.
Final piece to the puzzle.
It's beautiful.
It's like it was fate.
It was brought together by one individual, one man that sacrificed his life for the liberation of Holland. That's what brought this all together.
There's one more place you might want to take in on your tour, the Crossroads. You need to make that pilgrimage.
Yeah, I do.
The Crossroads, just west of Arnhem. It was here on October 9, 1944, where Manning Haney fought against advancing German forces.
The area where Haney set up his machine gun and eventually was killed is right where we're standing now.
His heroic actions protecting the men in his platoon are why he was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross.
To be here is an honor. There's only a few men I've ever looked up to in my life, and one was my dad. But this experience here, I found another hero.
The memory of Manning Haney now lives on. So does Ernie Ballinger's. Just two of tens of thousands of paratroopers who dropped here during Operation Market Garden, but suffered the consequences of a bridge too far.